Welcome back.
There we go. All right.
Hi.
Well, it's a bit weird. Myself and Thomas in the same room. The restraining order is over, so we're back to normal. How are you getting on, Andrew? It's been a while.
Well, thanks for inviting me again. I had a blast last time. It's been good. Lots gone on. If you read newspapers, watch Good Morning Britain, watch all the news channels, you would have seen I've caused a bit of a stir just recently.
You've been a naughty boy. You've been doing dodgy stuff.
Hugging people.
Hugging people.
How dare you, Andrew?
What's wrong with you?
I know. she was quite not what you see. I mean, when you see her in the full burqa and what you see, people are surprised what she looked like. I even had people question whether it was her. Most definitely was. She was in prison, and she was English, and her name was Shamima, so it was her. But the trip that we did was part of this documentary I'm filming called Danger Zone. It's the last leg. I did Shamima on my day off. It was like just something to do. So it wasn't something pre-planned. We were in Raqqa, and we went to a boys' prison where a poor lad joined ISIS at the age of 8. So I don't know. Did you boys see that? Any of that interview or anything about this lad?
We did. Not the young lad, but we seen the one with the girl.
With Shamima. I know when we first contacted, you weren't quite sure who she was. In England,
we've been out of that loop. So.
Yeah, in England, Shamima has become a celebrity, and around the world, States, and obviously you boys being in Ireland, obviously it's bypassed you over there. But she left the UK going back about 5-6 years ago, disappeared with 3 of her mates, and went to become an ISIS bride. And the world turned on her. There was pictures of her leaving the airport at 15. And basically what happened was she went away, people forgot about her, and then a news journalist called Anthony Lloyd found her and broke the story. And then she became a figure of hate. The world hates her. She's Western. And real big figure. And then obviously that's where I come in the case. As you know what I do. I go to war zones and fuck it. Why not? I thought, hunt her out, which I did. And since then, we've become a bit like mates. Since I've been back, I mean, some of me regrets it and some of me not, because I've had death threats. Someone said if I ever go back to Luton, I won't get out of Luton alive, which I kind of love. I love that for that. Just got back from fucking Raqqa, where everybody wants me dead. Who gives a fuck about Luton anyway? So I think I called him a retard and said, well, you're welcome to kill me if you want. There's a lot of people out there that do. But the trip was unbelievable. I mean, Shamima's taken over the whole of the trip. I met a boy who was forced to join ISIS at the age of 8, firing guns at 10, involved in beheadings by the age of 10.
Oh.
He's in prison, an English boy.
You're getting eaten up by the light there. Let's move over here. But there we go, a bit better. Yeah, that's a bit fucking crazy, but like it happens. It's still happening.
Well, the Shamima stuff has turned my world upside down. I mean, I was already becoming more in the public eye because obviously the documentary, I got a book out, which is just finished. It's just about to go to print. But the Shamima stuff has taken it over the stratosphere, working for Good Morning Britain. If you get to Good Morning Britain in Ireland, they say you don't.
We do.
We get it. We get all the English channels, but I don't think anybody watches that shit.
No.
That's right.
Well, in a few weeks' time, you're going to have to. With me, your mates on it. So I'm going back, getting the body armor back out again, helmet back out again, and I'm going back to Syria again. But I'm obviously going with a news crew because it's become such a big story because she's such a fucking nutter. I mean, when I came back, it's strange because when Anthony Lloyd interviewed her, it was a big thing over here. I don't know if you looked up on it, but she saw her head in a bin and showed no emotion. And her husband, I think he's in prison somewhere in Syria. And, you know, it was just mad. It was just a mad thing to do. I mean, and one of the questions, loads of questions I asked her, and people laugh about it. I asked her, what's her favourite TV programme? People go, why the fuck would a bloke ask a known terrorist what they watch on telly? But it was for a reason, because I wanted to gain kind of kind of calm her down a little bit because she didn't want to talk to anybody. And I got a way of talking to people. You know, I like talking about every bit of shit going. And she talked about everything, the whole of her life, how she was trafficked, how her father pretty much indoctored her, how she ended up in Syria. She's just a sex slave and a cleaner. It's hard to talk about to you boys a little bit because you don't. Do you know any of the background of her, or have you looked up now? Or?
I heard about her initially, like back in the day when ISIS was at its very peak.
Yeah.
But I hadn't thought about her until I messaged you.
Yeah.
Back on the show. So we've done a little bit of research, but you know.
Yeah. So basically, she has become a big name. And when I came back, and the big bit was the hug. The hug was the bit that got me the death threats. Like, you know, you're hugging a terrorist. And to be honest, you know what, I'm like, I couldn't give a fuck. I mean, to me, I don't support her. People say, oh, you support terror. I don't. I mean, I don't care if she rots in hell. But the point of view is, for doing the journalistic side of me, the only way to get a story, you have to talk to people you generally wouldn't. You boys would talk to a serial killer, wouldn't you?
Well, we talked to Carol Baskins the other day.
You what?
Do you know Carol Baskins?
Yeah, I do. You spoke to her?
Yeah, we had her on the podcast.
Like, how did you get her on?
We asked nicely.
We used our pleased and thank yous.
So you talk to people. You've seen what she's done. She's probably caused the death of that guy. No, she obviously caused the death of her husband. They reckon she killed her husband. Do you think she did?
She has a funny story, and she had us fairly convinced. But I'm kind of more neutral on it than, you know, like, oh, she definitely did it. So she said like that the hubby didn't have any kind of pilot license, but he went off and flew a couple of times. On record, he's 3 crashes, and she reckons the 4th crash eventually killed him because he was suffering from dementia and he got really fucked up.
So you let your husband with dementia get up in an aeroplane? That's a responsible wife. But the point of view is, like, the whole point is, I mean, when you interviewed her and you had the opportunity, which I had the opportunity of interviewing people. Now, did you not feel really good? It's quite a big scoop for you. The world knows about her. Same sort of thing as me, except I did mine in a war zone. That's, you know, that's the difference is as an opportunity. But the biggest thing to me was this boy. He left Britain at the age of 8. I mean, you imagine a little child at that age, and by the age of 10 and a half, 11, he's involved in beheading. You know, you take time to think about what that boy must have seen and what he's been through. His parents got killed with him he watched them get killed at 10, 11 years of age. He got beaten up by ISIS, and then he got forced to become the Caliphate Cub, which are these little kids that fight for him. You imagine that if you have kids in the future, you know, and now he's in a prison being beaten up by Syrian kids. And when I went there, my heart went out for him, and people go, oh, he should have died. But he was 8 or 9 years of age. You know, if he hadn't have got involved, they'd have murdered him. And I mean, I've seen what ISIS do. I mean, as you know, I come under attack by them. Yeah. If they got hold of me, I'd have been their main target. The day I'd been pinned and hung up somewhere and beheaded. You know, I would have been their target. So I know what they do. I mean, I've seen in Raqqa where they used to put people up in a cage and set fire to them. Cages are still there. I've been to their torture cells. And another story inside Raqqa, you know, Raqqa was the home of ISIS. That's where they were in Syria. And whilst we were there, we were a target. Obviously, ISIS has been pushed out, but there's still snipers still spinning the cells there. And it's just a dangerous place because you've got Assad, they've got a thing called the regime, which is from Assad, which is the other side of, I don't know if you know much about Syria. So we were in pretty much trouble. But I went in a slushy bar because ISIS love killing people in it and having slushies afterwards. So this best slushy bar is fucking ridiculous. But I was in there, and this is a true story of war. Only a year and a half ago, this guy was serving his slushies, looking at 100 heads on spikes in front of him on a roundabout. There were these spikes around this roundabout, and then the ISIS would cut heads off and put them on these spikes. And I asked him, did he feel sick? And he said, if he was sick or it affected him, his head would have been on spike. So living with ISIS was such a threat, such a fear, as we see with the Taliban now, where we sold out our Afghan friends, which I'm fucking fuming about.
I actually wanted your opinion on that because it was an ISIS attack there fairly recently. And
I'm fucking fuming. I've got friends in Kabul.
Yeah,
I've been there, obviously.
I was saying before we started that if I was ISIS right now, and I ever wanted to form an Islamic state, like they're saying, going to Afghanistan and going against the Taliban or working with the Taliban will probably be their best bet.
Well, they won't though, because the Taliban hate them. It's the Sunni Shia thing. But you're right. I mean, it's still a possibility that could happen. And there is a resistance also in Afghanistan, but we fucked them up. Imagine 20 years of having a good life, and then the Americans say, "Oh, bollocks, you're now bored with it." No American had died for years. No military had died for a year and a half. Now 13 died in an airport attack. Biden's a twat. He really is. He's a complete and utter twat. That's if he's awake. Most of the time he's asleep, doesn't he? But you can imagine, though, living there, that these poor people sold themselves to the West, became westernized, and now they're dying. They're going to die. A lot of them are going to die. I've been sent videos from my mates who are out in Afghanistan showing them just executing people already. And this is the liberal Taliban. So I feel pissed off, totally fucked off. I make friends in all different countries. Trouble with us, right? Now, can you remember when Paris had the bombing? Everybody put their French flags on their avatars on Facebook, and who else? If anybody had an Afghan flag? Because no one recognises them. That's the thing, isn't it? No fucking cares. I don't think anyone does, because they don't really, they wear long shirts, funny hats, talk a different language. We dehumanise them. That's where the difference between me and maybe some of the rest of the world. I don't. I've got friends everywhere, and they are proper friends like you. You two, we're chatting now. There's no difference between you two as these two Afghan guys doing the same thing, doing the same podcast, but we don't recognise them in the West. Biden's caused the death of hundreds of people by doing what he's done. And if he said we want to close the war, he shouldn't have fucking gone in there in the first place. You can't start off a job, can you?
It's kind of hard to look at that situation and see any benefit to what's happened. It was seriously, I don't know, a lack of vision, a lack of, I don't know what you'd say, to be honest. It was just...
Well, it's lack of vision, lack of care. And not only that, the Americans didn't even negotiate with us. So we didn't have a withdrawal plan because we didn't realise they're going to withdraw us quick. Because Biden's a complete and utter knob. Ain't got a clue what he's talking about. People moan about Trump, rightly so, but I mean, Biden's the worst knob. Where's all the celebrities now? I know. All the ones singing songs for Biden and yippee, Biden's here. Where are they now? They're all hidden. I bet they're not so pleased he's in now, are they?
Yeah, that was a weird thing at the time. You had fucking Cardi B interviewing Biden.
Yeah.
That's a weird one. But yeah, just lack of foresight, just ridiculous. And now, rather than fighting, I guess, people with, 20-year-old Kalashnikovs and whatever, now they're fighting against, their own gear.
They've got helicopters now. They've got everything. Water. Yeah. I mean,
how do you fight that? Like their gear is like a little bit behind what the States has now.
I tell you, the next people to go will be the Chinese. That's been the rumours for the last year and a half, 2 years. So those poor Afghan people are going to get it. I was only there a few years ago. It's a wonderful country for wonderful people, really intelligent, and now we fucked them over. And what do you think when you fuck people over? What they're going to think of us now? You just created more terrorists. That's what you've done. Created more anti-West. We fuck everything up. Syria's going to be the next place as well. That'll be another fuck up. Well, I'm going to go and talk to President Assad soon. That seems like a joke, but I am. I've got a possibility of interviewing him as my next interview, Bashar Assad. I'm going to have to go football with him. My interview's a bit different. I don't want to go and sit down in a chair with him. He could play a bit of football. So I'm going to take a ball over there and see if they'll give me an interview. See if Putin will join in and all. But Assad's for sure. We've got him on board. So when I've done that, I dare say I might get a call from you boys again.
I reckon you might, to be honest.
So you let us hop on there with you, man.
There we go.
Do a little Zoom with President Assad.
I can say, what's the story, man?
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. If you boys have got a record on, when I'm in Syria, I'm in Syria in a week and a half, 2 weeks. I'll Skype one of you and you can record it and maybe attach it to this. You might be able to do some sort of semi-live Syrian broadcast, even if you record it. Because
we can do that, right?
We can do that.
I'll record when I'm in the camp.
Yeah.
I'll
be pestering you about it though. I'll be saying, Andrew, we're doing it now, Andrew. Is it in 5 minutes?
Well, I'm not going to fucking wait for your equipment for sure.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, the Turkish are bombing in Syria, so it is
Yeah.
quite a dodgy old place to be.
What's going on with the Turkish in Syria? Because I'm aware that they annexed part of northern Syria.
They don't like, they obviously don't like the Kurds. It's a bit like the Gypsy situation, like Romani people taking over and banging up. But I mean, I really like the Kurds, and I think the whole world should like the Kurds, what they've done against ISIS, the protection of the Middle East. But nobody still likes them. Syrians hate them. Then they got the regime, which is the SDF, or the Syrian Defensive Forces, are mainly sort of Kurds in Kurd territory. And then you got Assad's guy, the regime. But the borders are so close to Turkey, and Kurds live on both sides of the border. So the Turks, backed with the UN, just bomb the borders. Turkey want to be part of everywhere. I've got nothing against Turkish, but they've got their feet in everywhere.
They're a growing power in that region, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt. So when we were there, they had airstrikes. But the documentary, because I was with security, my mate Gary, who ex kind of special forces, although he's in hospital now, but fighting for his life. Seems my fixers, this film seems to be destined with people getting ill and dying. Did I tell you what happened in Mogadishu? Oh, did we not spoke about my trip to, when was the last time we did a podcast?
I'd say maybe
It was
4 or 5 months ago.
a year ago.
A year ago?
Fuck me. Well,
I was on, and then we scheduled this day in a year, we'd have you back on.
Ah, yeah.
Well, I'm lucky to be alive. I thank my wife for that. I was in Somalia, in Mogadishu, we're filming as part of this danger zone. We went into some bad areas, and we had Shabab come after us. We were in the market, and then someone in the market made a phone call, and we had Al Shabab coming towards us, but we got out. But that wasn't it. That whole trip was fraught by escape. We got close to being attacked a few times. But the news story is I looked for this football team, because you can't play football when you're a woman in Islamic countries. So they play football dead of night. Otherwise, Shabab would kill the whole women's football team. And I found this women's football team, and I had a knockabout playing football with them, because I like my football. And we met them in an ice cream parlour that had just been built. It's really nice that I met Western Ice Cream Parlour, but there isn't many. So we filmed in there. It was great. Nice talking to his women's football team, went home. Made a good friend called UK. UK was his nickname. Don't know what his real name was, actually. But he was our security right through the week. 1 week later, when I was due to be out there, it was only because my wife's a school teacher. She didn't want me to be at the same time. But at the same time we're supposed to be there, my mate UK got blown up. We spent a week filming with him. 1 week later. So we'd gone on our set time. This is how destiny can take control. It would have been me and the film crew. So that's like Somalia. This is kind of the life I lead. So it's been bad. And then my security who's fought, he freed a load of hostages in Libya, ex-military, and now come back from Syria, protecting us, went for a jog, double bleed to the brain, he's in a coma. So this film has got this kind of death wish upon it. It's weird how death seems to be following this film.
Yeah, that's a sad old sight. It's a sad old sight. Heart goes out to them and their families.
Yeah, no, it's kind of one of these things. I mean, if you go into that, it's like putting your head in the lion's jaw, isn't it? Sometimes it could get bitten.
That's it.
And I kind of get closer and closer every time. But I think possibly now I was just a holiday maker. Now I'm a journalist. I've got my press card. How the fuck these Oxbridge, Cambridge journalists, they must hate me because I've got it presented to me just because of the stories I brought back, which is so fucking cool. But the snobby journalists hate me. How can a boy from a council estate end up with a press card?
I hate that in both Irish and UK what do you say again? Journalism. Yeah,
journalism.
I hate that. There's so much snobbery in it.
There is.
I don't know, but fair play to you doing it though.
Do you know what? News gathering can be done by anybody with a passion. The best news gathering, the reason I've become popular is because Although I've made my money now, I live in a nice big house and I've done quite a bit to come well for myself. But news gathering for the common people is more important. That's why I like doing a podcast with you. I've done some podcasts with some big corporations, and probably my career will now take off and it beginning to is. But I'd rather talk to you boys. Do you know why? Because talking to a couple of lads in their bedroom or building a podcast, why would that not be just as important to do as big American corporation?
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it because, you know, you are up and up and up. You have a fucking movie being made about you.
Yeah.
You know?
Nuts, isn't it? I don't know why.
Enough said. And you were in Dark Tours. How did that do for your career? Has that been kind of like an upward?
Well, the podcast I just done is a guy, there's Monica, Dak Shepherd and Dave Farrier. He was obviously, you've probably seen it, the podcast with him. Watch this space because we're going to be doing things together again. Me and Dave have become really good mates. I don't think he really did with many others. I think he respected what I did or what I stood for because I care about people. And I think he thought a dark tourist was a gore-seeking bloodhound. And for me, I started that way, as I probably told in the last podcast, you know, it's just a bit of thrill-seeking, but now it isn't. Just humanist. I just kind of love people. I feel sad for people that are struggling, and I go back and try and help, much as we did in Syria. We try and go and help people that are struggling, help people that no one cares about. I mean, no one cares about anybody in Syria, really, apart from Syrians.
I think that has to do with media and Western media, and it's just like they don't cover it at all unless there's a bombing there or anything. You don't hear about anything on Middle East. Nothing, no news comes from there
because it gets eclipsed by some kind of celebrity scandal.
Like, yeah, it's fucking ridiculous, isn't it?
The same happened to Israel Palestine.
Yeah,
when that was going on, suddenly a bunch of celebrity scandals, and then move on. Afghanistan, people cared for a week. Celebrity scandals again. It's Kim Kardashian wore a wedding dress to Kanye's concert. Yeah, that's been massive for some reason.
She and him are twats, both of them pair of twats.
I know what Trump had for breakfast in the morning, but I could not tell you anything going on in the Middle East.
What did he have?
Would you believe it or not, he had McDonald's.
But do you know what? It's so true, isn't it? If you think about the Middle East now, how the Middle East is the core of all what's going on in the world at the moment, financially, oil prices, barrel prices, terrorist networks, what we fear of, and we talk about some silly twat's dress. That you know, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And Kanye West is nuts anyway. Who gives a fuck about?
Yeah, I talked to a Turkish guy, and I'll leave him unnamed, but he said that when it comes to the Middle East, he reckons that it needs to be governed by like one nation, like
Turkey.
Yeah, he kind of said like the Ottomans, but not the Ottomans. Like he said, thinks Turkey needs to control everywhere it controlled before because it brought peace to the region. You've been in this place. I don't think you agree with that. What do you think would need to happen for the Middle East to stabilize?
Well, can it? It never has done throughout history.
Yeah, but in fairness, Europe wasn't until recently.
Saddam Hussein kept the country peaceful. He killed roughly 100,000 a year to keep the country, because of different tribes, Sunni, Shiite, different forms of Islam. So unfortunately, and I hate to say what works is tyrants, unfortunately. It's the same as Gaddafi, same as Assad. The countries remained in shape because they had a good police, or not a good police, a police officer that ruled with fear. When you've got different tribes to unite tribes, you can't unite tribes. You're not going to unite Sunnis and Shiites. You're not going to unite different forms of Islam. So there is no factor. Like what he was talking about, Turkish, the Ottoman Empire, things like that, they rule with fear. It's a fear thing, isn't it? That's the only truth. That's all you can do. I think we've totally fucked the whole lot of place up, if you want my view. We should never have gone in. I think Bush went in after 9/11 because he said that I think they were being, we even didn't know where they didn't know where Osama bin Laden was. I went to his hometown actually when he would have been there. I didn't know he was there. But in Atabad, where he got caught, we passed through there a few weeks because I was in a Taliban training camp. Another story.
You got to firing, in fairness.
Firing AKs in a Taliban training camp in Pakistan. I've been under attack by the Taliban as well. crossing Afghanistan into Pakistan, and we had our security guy in the car, and he ran. It wasn't very secure, but they didn't know we were in the car, but the cars got attacked. So I know what Taliban are like. I got caught up in a Taliban tea party, not like Chim's tea party. We were in a place called Swat Valley. The Taliban attacked the village we were in it. They didn't know. Once again, we were sitting in the car with our driver was crying. That's how much fearful he had. Left and drove. We escaped. And then I got pictures actually. And then we went for a cup of tea because our driver shit himself. And then we drove into a Taliban war party. They were sitting having tea. Once again, they looked at the car, thought it was just locals, and let it go. If they caught us, I dare say my head would have been like a kebab. But these are the risks you take when you do what I do.
Yeah, we were looking at the Stan episode again earlier, just to kind of catch up with everything you did over there. I think it sounds pretty cool to do that kind of stuff. You know, you swim in the dodgy water.
Oh, you want to talk about that stuff, Kat? Do you know what?
That sounds nice. What you do normally sounds terrifying. That must have been like a genuine holiday for you.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what? Doing that episode, when we planned it, myself and David, he rang me, come and saw me at my house, and we're talking, and I didn't want to go to Kazakhstan. Didn't give a shit about it, to be honest. It wasn't something I wanted to do, and I wanted him to go to Donbass because they were fighting in the Ukraine between Ukraine and Russia's, and he wanted to go. I mean, he got some balls, David, but obviously Netflix Corporation said no, you can't get insured. You can let Andy go, but you can't, David. You've got to finish the series. And do you know what? The hardest chapter of my book was the dark tourist bit. You'd have thought it'd been the easiest bit, wouldn't you? Every celebrities, people seen it, and I've had lovely comments, but I found it really hard. The reason I found it hard, I didn't 100 find it my interest. I mean, swimming in a radioactive lake seems quite cool, doesn't it? You know, it's quite something to brag about. But I'd done so much more, and it was like, really? Although I did get pissed because I didn't fancy going in the Cold War, not the radioactive lake. And I'd seen quite a bit. I was first tourist in Chernobyl with my cousin, go back in 2002, 2003. So that whole dark tourist bit had gone and left me. I've done all the Auschwitz and stuff like that, but it's not war. And I think what it is when you go into a country that's under war, people are honest. When someone's don't know they're going to wake up in the morning, you have this relationship. I think I told you the relationship I had with a sniper. I think we had that conversation, didn't we? I believe. It's them sorts of relationships you can build. And like we're only on this planet for a short time, aren't we? And do you not think these relationships are great? That's why you do these podcasts. You know, build up relationships, build up, I don't know, conversations with people you generally wouldn't. We'd never have spoken, would we? We share a planet, we share the same things, but we would never talk. So you get a chance, you get a chance to speak to whoever. You said Carol Baskin. I mean, wow. No one knew who the fuck she was a couple of years ago, did they? But now she's like like a mega superstar. I mean, that's such a scoop.
Yeah. No, I think it was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning when she replied back to us about getting on, and Jared called me straight away. Sleeping.
Yeah, because it's massive, isn't
it? Yeah, no, it's huge. You couldn't believe it, man. And then
how long did she give you?
She gave us an hour. She gave us a full hour, like.
Yeah.
She was very nice. For sure. For someone who's been accused of doing all that stuff, she seems like a very nice
She's very
person.
open about it.
She is. She's very open about it.
Like I went into detail asking her questions of like the dead husband.
Yeah.
And she just answered everything. Only thing she couldn't talk about was like current court stuff going on with Joe and so on.
Is she's still got then legal stuff going on then?
Yeah. He's still in prison. He can't get out.
Yeah.
And he's in prison because he wanted to try to kill her, so that's why she couldn't really talk about it.
Well, we had a guy who worked for him.
Yeah.
Come on, John Rinke. And John Rinke said that that's complete BS.
Yeah.
And that he was there when the supposed like transaction happened, and he says that it was for your guy to leave the park, but he could have phrased it to whatever.
Yeah.
So he reckons your man just lied and said he was paid to kill Carl Baskin, but who knows?
You should get quite a scoop on that. It'd be a big episode to put out there because people are still interested in what she's got to say.
Yeah.
It was a bit like the Shamima thing for me. It was such a big scoop. From that, I've got American podcasts. I've got Good Morning Britain, my TV. I'm doing more stuff with them, all because of this. I would have hoped my book would have bought that, but Shamima did, because she's such a big pawn, such a big name. You know, I had 15,000. I mean, the Mail in the end, the comments online, they had to take the Mail down because she was the most. I mean, I think that day a royal baby that week had arrived or was about to arrive. It hit that. It outdid that. And one of them royal freaks getting a baby is like, you know, it's like such a big, massive news, and they're like complete weirdos at the moment. But I mean, Shamima took them off the front headlines because they, you know, the Mail put it on. I think I don't know, 6 or 7 down their column online, and then it was #1 because it was getting smashing everything because of the hug.
And why do you think that is?
Well, it's because people, because I think everybody have got this opinion that she should have had a British citizenship taken away from her. They see her as a hatred sign because of ISIS, and because they're thick as fuck, most people, aren't they, to be honest? You know, people they don't really read into the story. I said, I think she should come back, face her time in prison, do a really long time in prison over here. And people then posted to me, oh, you support terrorists. Where the fuck does me supporting terrorists come back from saying she should do a long time? Because people listened to the first 2 lines or a sentence. All they saw was me giving her a hug. Now, I asked her if I could shake her hand. She said, she said, can I have a hug? And started crying. Because she, for the first time in 6 years, saw someone that was speaking to her like I'm speaking to you. Like weren't condemning her, weren't saying what she did. I asked her all the questions. She told me the truth. Trouble is, Oxbridge journalists, they try and be clever. They want the story. They want to say Shamima stuck in there. They want that for the big hits. But they actually don't ask her the sensible questions. She was set up, told what to wear. I mean, Sky did a documentary and put Union Jack ports and Union Jack pillars for her 10 prison. So we all know how the press work. And for once, I think with me, she got someone that wasn't full of that bullshit.
Yeah.
And I never sold her out.
There's definitely a market for journalists like yourself, because people, they hate the way it's being written into a story nowadays. But you kind of go in there, you do a full shebang, you leave nothing out, and then people make their own opinion.
Yeah, and we're willing to take on these death threats. I mean, it's a bit of a laugh. Someone with an avatar, Superman, gives you a death threat and got his face.
They'll forget it a couple of days later, like.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Because we're full of keyboard warriors, aren't we? You know, people they've got. Do you ever get any abuse?
Pardon?
Probably. You don't get any abuse from anyone.
Oh, well, you fuck yeah.
Do you?
Yeah.
Well, we had a flat Earth guy back in the day, and
we disagreed.
We disagreed with the guy pretty heavily, so heavily that he decided to make an excerpt video. He never like, he does a lot of interviews with people, but he never posts about them or does anything. He did the whole 9 yards with us because he wasn't happy with us at all. David Weiss. And we've had his lad stuck around ever since, you know, leaving an old dislike or commenting, have you found the flat truth yet? Or got stuff like that.
All right.
It's kind of like a bit culty.
Yeah. So you get a bit, is there like podcast wars?
I won't call it a podcast war, but it's just his fan base of 60,000 people, you know, occasionally coming back to it and just leaving a comment like, you guys are so dumb, or that guy in the red shirt fucking suck, indoctrinated, all this shit, man. Yeah, we've heard it.
Fluoride in the water.
They call people sheep, but it's amazing how they all go on around the same shit.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's definitely interesting.
You work in the radio, don't you? You work in, one of you's a radio broadcaster? Yeah. You? Was that local radio or?
Local, yeah. I was in again today. Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I mean, I think I've done radio and I like it. I like the question and answers. That the best thing I've done. I mean, I do lots of live TV and that, but I prefer radio than television. I do, and I like the phone-ins. I've done quite a few phone-ins as well, and I love that. I think I prefer that more than television, to be honest. You want to be? You both? What do you do then? What if you're radio? What do you? Is that your job? Radio.
We're students. We're both students.
Oh, yeah.
We do this. We do a couple other things. Radio's just one thing I do at the moment.
Because podcasts, I mean, given 10 years, these will be massive.
I mean, they probably are already. I think more people listen to Joe Rogan Weekly than any radio station, you know?
Well, that's the thing. There was a time where they were complaining that podcasts like his were getting more views than, you know, national news outlets.
Well, when David said to me, come and do a podcast, and middle of the night, he was in the States, he lives in Beverly Hills now, and he said, can you come on and do this podcast? I kind of thought, I've not really done loads. And at one stage, it was no. And then he said the name Armchairs and Dangerous, and I thought, the fuck's that? It's a stupid name for a podcast. It's weird. And I thought, and I like David, so I'd chat to him anyway. But then when I looked it up and saw it, it's just massive. I think Josh Rogan's the largest, isn't he? I think in the world. I think the Armchair and Dangerous is the next. It's become massive. And doing it, I really enjoyed it. And it's just because I'm getting used to it now. It's just like a chat with mates, isn't it? Really.
At the end of the day, when you do it enough times, yeah. And it's interesting the relationship we have with guests we've had on before. Because you talk to someone for an hour, 2 hours, you really get to know them, and then you don't talk again. But you might a while down the line.
It's like family, though, isn't it? You kind of talk to them, don't speak to them, see them at weddings and funerals. And
but Andrew, like if you have like a brother-in-law you talk to for a full hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours, you got trapped in that. You weren't there, you know.
You did, but
you're probably being told something. I'd ask something.
But if I didn't like it, I mean, I wouldn't do it again. I mean, I enjoyed our conversation last time, and for you, it's just building up probably a CV of people you've had on, and by the sounds of it, it's growing. Well,
it's sometimes it's a CV thing. Like the Carol Baskin is number one. I'd love to hear what she has to say. Number two, when I say to someone, I want to get on the show, we've had Carol Baskin on, we've had Andrew Drury, we had Chuck Liddell on. It might be eye-opening to them. They might want to hop on then. Yeah. But if I said we had Joe Schmo on down the road, it'd be a bit different. It's helpful in that aspect, but I really want to hear what people have to say. Like Carol was this thing of, I've never heard her give her story, and I have a lot of questions about it because I'm a fan of it. Yeah. Is that on now? Is that up now, the Carol Baskin thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll pump you around. I mean, my book's out soon. I think you might feature in it. Just saying, some of the podcasts we do, so you might have a mention anyway in it.
You see that, Andrew?
On the podcast.
That's for you.
Yeah. So we'll and I'll see if I can pump you around a little bit as I'm out. A live one in Syria would be pretty good for you. A live pictures from Syria, I think would be nice to have a chat. And I like people like you to do well. Why not?
Yeah. It's this kind of weird idea that if you're in the same kind of niche or whatever, you're working against each other. You can only, build off each other. Like it's only going to do better. You're not kind of taking someone's viewers. No. Yeah.
No, you're not taking anybody's viewers, are you? I mean, although I did say, and I will say now, this is the last interview I'll give of the last Shamima trip. I'm not going to give any more because there's been so many of them. It's like now it becomes diluted. Your views on the Shamima stuff, and when I come back, it's quite fresh. And when you come back, everybody's talking about it's become news. I think I did 6 TV shows in the space of 24 hours. I mean, it was like when I come back and people sort of attacking you. I did Galloway. Funny him. Galloway, the MP Galloway, George Galloway. It was on, I think it was on Big Brother, licking milk from a saucer. You don't know if you remember it. He kind of, and when George, if you heard of George Galloway, he's got kind of a podcast TV show. All I could think about was him licking milk from a saucer. But having the chance and opportunity, that's been great as well. But I think for me now, I'll be doing more in the States. Things seem to have shifted that way for me, which is good. When the film's released, I think the film's going to be quite a big deal.
When is it released?
It's going to be released probably November, January, February. Maybe if you're in London, and I'd invite you over because there's another guy. We do another podcast, invite him over. So we've got a premiere. So a few of the people I've done with, invite them over. So if you get yourself over, I'll give you an invite to come and see the film.
I really appreciate that.
That sounds,
wow, it's really kind of you. Thank you.
Look at Andrew over here, the sound lad.
He's shown some interest, which is cool.
Yeah, it's extremely interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
there's a couple of reasons I find you interesting. Number one, the hair. No, like you go into these places, and for the first while, you weren't really, trying to build something of it. You just wanted to see these things.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people nowadays would go there and they try maybe make it a series, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do with it, but they try profit off it or so on, gain publicity.
I don't take any money.
Yeah, you were telling
I-
stories of people who were there, and it was pure, it was honest.
It is, because like all the people I've seen, like the guy in the slushy, I could tell you that story, but we haven't got time to go on about it. And one day we will, and I've got to leave a bit for the book. But the point is, giving this guy's the story, or sniper story, or the guy that was the worst counterfeiter I've met, and he's a drug dealer, and or the Ku Klux Klan, sort of all these stories to me, Bill, it's just such a fantastic privilege to be able to reflect these stories and bring them back. And I like using your medium or the newspaper. I mean, podcasts, to say, as a medium to tell a story is great, because it's not generally very edited. I mean, I listened to the last podcast of you. I don't think you edited it at all, did you?
No, we don't, because it's pure. If you say something stupid, you said something stupid.
Of course.
If you said something that was super eye-opening, it's super eye-opening. It's there forever. If I edited a conversation, it's like I'm trying to make you look bad or good, and even if that's subconscious, it's not fair.
I don't think it is. I think that was my biggest fear for doing Dark Tourist. I was going to get edited. That was the only thing, because if you do something as large as Netflix, because Netflix is with you for life, and it is, people can go and watch Dark Tourist much, and they still do, because I still get comments. People sending me comments and DM me loads of stuff about Dark Tourist, because there's so many weird goths out there that love death. So I still get that, and that worried me right through the editing, and I didn't have any input, obviously, how it was edited, and they could have edited me like looking like a right twat, and they didn't. They edited me. I cry a lot. I cry because I don't like seeing people upset. The kids in the orphanage, it was all authentic. The only thing they did edit out was this guy that was so deformed, and that upset me, because he was such a character and such a poor guy that had an affected. But because generally, it's like, if you edit, you could edit, if you sat down enough, you can make it look like a twat.
Oh, we don't need to edit for that.
Give it up. But yeah, you're right. 45 minutes of
No,
so far, we could do a lot of damage.
No, you're right.
And but we could also do the opposite and make you look like you're sent down by God.
Yeah.
But either way, it's not fair to do that to anyone.
No.
Because it's a podcast, it's a conversation. If you're changing it, it's really weird. It's really grey area.
Do you return to most people again? Because you said you diarise another conversation.
We email a couple of people to come back on the
Yeah,
show.
I think it's good to come back on again, isn't it? If you enjoy it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of people get invited back, in fairness.
No.
I'm not trying to be like blowing smoke, but
I want to do my third though. I think what you got to realise, maybe you should hold this one on wax, because in a week and a half I'm back. I'm going to be back from Syria, and what I'm doing over there is massive.
Yeah.
What we're doing, I can't say too much because I'm gagged. It will be never done before in the world, what we're doing, and if we pull it off, it will be it will be quite immense. So I'm happy. If you wanted to hold it back, I'll give you an interview what we did and how we did it.
Yeah,
and that's because in the UK it will become it. There will be a lot happening on the day it happens. So it'll be all over the place, all over the papers and everywhere. So you might want to be the first podcast.
Yeah. We'll do that. Well, we'll do the whole
when you're back,
Skype conversation.
Well, I leave on the 10th of September, which is a week on Friday coming, and I return back on the 16th of September. So you need to jump on quickly, because I think there'll be a lot of demand when we get back.
I'm going to text you on the 17th. See what you're at.
Cool. And tune in. I'll tell you, tune in to Good Morning Britain. So you might want to tack that on, because it might be a good time for you, because if you put the podcast out at the right time, it's all about timing, isn't it? Because you need obviously viewers. And if you put it out at the right time, because it's like if you had the podcast the same day Shamima come out, you'd have had loads of viewers. So it might be good timing.
Yeah, we're trying to get back into that at the right timing. Like, we have John Rinke from Tiger King ready to get on, like basically the premiere day of Tiger King season 2. So
what a way to do that.
yeah. But we have to meet him first. We have to have a conversation and then say, what's the story? What are you doing when it comes out?
Because it is all about timing, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's the thing that's annoying. It goes back to that thing we're talking about with Afghanistan. Is it going to be relevant in 2 weeks?
No.
It's a timing thing. It's really weird. What's going to be the next story?
Yeah.
Like maybe if there's some more atrocities happening or China goes in, you'll hear about it.
Yeah, there will. It will be. I think Kabul's got another week to go on though. I think there will be more issues because another bomb today. There's going to be something bigger soon. Unfortunately, so there will be more shit to happen. I'll be going there.
But Andrew, before we let you go, we need to finish up on a positive note. You got something happy to say?
Yeah, I'm always happy. Yeah, my book's out. It's called Why There, because that's what everybody says to me. Why There? Coming out soon. I'll send you boys a copy of it, and hopefully you read it and maybe get a bit of a review.
That's awesome.
Films out.
I'm gonna do a book review on the channel.
And you'll have your name in it, so I'll make sure that the podcast is in it somewhere.
Appreciate that.
And also I've got Danger Zone is out really soon. We finished the filming, so hopefully people can view that wherever they want to view it. But it'll be in cinemas, and then I think it could be on HBO or somewhere or Netflix. So you'll see that soon. So and that'd be a good time to come back. And thank you, boys, for having me on again. Really enjoy our talks.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's always eye-opening because we don't really talk to journalists, you're part journalist, part madman. So we don't really talk to people who do what you do, and when we do, it's just so eye-opening because normally we're talking to actors, comedians, athletes, and that's a certain world. But you open our eyes a bit more.
Well, hopefully then if we speak in about a week and a half, 2 weeks, set it down your diary and then we'll chat again. You might want to tag this on then. Brilliant.
Until then. So
thank you so much.
To finish up now, if you got this far in the podcast, fair play to you. You're brilliant. You're unreal. You're amazing. And if you want to check out Andrew, you know where to find him. So there you go. Take it handy. Good luck and bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.